go into, how does that work in this Reston context? And so we said we'll designate 3 areas around the planned transit station around the planned transit stations. And the emphasis in those areas will be, again, for this mixed use type development, and will be, as Matt talked about, transit oriented, more pedestrian friendly, more bike friendly, places where people will be able to meet many of their daily needs in one location, be able to hopefully live near the transit station, perhaps work near the transit station. If they don't work near the transit station, be able to take transit to where they work, maybe in Arlington, maybe in the District of Columbia. So in the Reston context, future growth for this area will be focused primarily in the transit station areas. And to a lesser degree, we anticipate that in the future there could be some growth in the village centers. And for those of you who have not participated or been following the second phase of the Reston Master Plan Special Study, which we've been working on for a while, you are invited to come to a meeting that we're going to have October 18th, where we're going to talk about the village centers and potentially what could happen with the village centers in the future. So that's a Saturday. The meeting will start at 8:30. If you're available, we encourage you to come and share your ideas about the village centers.
PM?
It's 8:30 a.m., 8:30 to 11:30 a.m.
Do you know the home tour center? That's the Reston Home Tour Day. Slight overlap.
Okay, you know, Reston, as we have seen this evening, being a very active place, we had moved it off several other dates because there were other activities that were sure to be of community-wide interest. And somehow the home tour, I'm sorry to say, didn't get onto our radar screen before we publicized that date. So I'm sorry to hear it's going on at the same time. One of these years I'd like to make it to the Reston home tour.
You can come after it's over.
Is that right? Oh, it's all day? Okay. Okay, great. So future growth to be focused in the transit station areas, and within the transit station areas, the key areas where that growth is to be focused is within the 1/4 mile and a 1/2 mile radius from the station. Now, a couple things with regard to that. First of all, as you can see, the southern boundary of the Herndon Transit Station and the Wheelie Transit Station areas is Sunrise Valley Drive. And so when we obviously drew these circles on the map initially, we said, well, there are places within a 1/2 mile of the transit station area that are neighborhoods, and we're going to keep those neighborhoods as they are. We're not going to propose to change anything about them as part of this effort. So the boundary or the emphasis was on talking about what should happen in the future of the areas where the suburban office parks are currently. To help orient us to the Wheelie Station area, obviously Wheelie Avenue is the major north-south route into this transit station area, and then Lake Fairfax Business Park is at the eastern edge. It goes over as far as what was Freddie Mac. Was it Sally Mae? Okay. Okay. I can't keep the two straight, so you'd think I could. But, and Plaza America, that's on the western edge of what we've called the Wheelie Transit Station area. Now, the significance of the quarter mile and half mile boundaries, as shown in red here, are research all over the country, and we have good research locally in the Washington, D.C. area, shows that you will capture a higher decent percentage of your commuters to transit when their point of origin, perhaps their home, or their office, or their destination is within the quarter mile. So I didn't say that very elegantly. So the best chance of getting somebody to take transit for that area within a quarter mile is if where they work is there. Now, people will walk a little farther from their house to catch a train. Typically, people coming to work will walk a shorter distance to get to their office. So we said, to the extent that there's going to be new office at these station areas, we want those new offices to be as close to the station as possible. We would like them within the quarter mile. Because people will walk farther from their homes to the station, we said there's a good opportunity to add residential in the area between the quarter and the half mile. Let's put the emphasis in new development in that area being on residential. And so, as many of you know, from having traveled through this area, these are basically suburban office parks, a lot of surface parking, and in the future, what our goal is to have those convert into areas that have multifamily residential, apartments, condominiums, perhaps some new office. Some of that new office may very well be in taller buildings, something more in line with what you see in the town center, some new hotels. We'd like to see ground level retail in those buildings so that you could have your deli that you at lunchtime could go down to. If you live there, your dry cleaners, perhaps your place you go to get your hair cut, your daycare center, all those type of uses could be on the ground floor of either an office building or a residential building. And this map just shows with some color designations what we're aspiring to. So this magenta color here is where, again, new office, that's where we're encouraging. We put the greatest incentives into our new plan for new office in that area, the magenta colored area. We would like to see residential there as well. There's incentives for residential in the brown area. We don't anticipate that there'll be a lot of new office in the area that's shown here in brown. There may be some, but again, the emphasis on new office is really to try and get it close to the transit station so that we maximize the number of people who will choose to use transit to get to their office. Give them a comfortable walk, as Matt talked about, complete streets, comfortable sidewalks, a nice streetscape, trees, landscaping, places for bikes to comfortably move through the area, facilities for bikes in buildings, open spaces, plazas, some small parks throughout this, both of these areas are envisioned, and some support transit, so bus service that would also serve this area and bring, we hope, people who may not live in this immediate area to this area. So there's a lot of pieces that we're looking to bring together in these transit station areas to make them places that the millennials that Matt talked about will want to live. We've also heard in our work with the Reston Master Plan Task Force, we had some experts come in, demographers, and they talked about, in addition to the millennials, that they're seeing an interest among baby boomers for living in walkable places that have, things to do, that have the restaurants, that have perhaps theater, or other types of spaces for different types of activities. And so each of those groups, the baby boomers and the millennials, are large generations, and so that we're seeing that they are helping to drive some of the changes that Matt referred to. And we're looking to be able to expand the choices that are available in Reston, and in fact in all these mixed-use centers throughout Fairfax County, for people to have options of places to live. So this is expanding the type of housing that we have, and it's increasing the number of units that we have available. And so those are things that we believe will help keep Fairfax as an attractive place to live more broadly, and certainly we think that this will help Reston continue to be a very attractive place to live. And in fact, just further add to the idea of Reston being a place to live throughout your lifetime. One thing we heard, again, working with the task force, was a concern that increasingly there are not a lot of places in Reston where young people, perhaps newly out of college, or young couples, there may not be as many choices of places for them to live. Currently, we're hoping that some of the development that will come in to these areas will be attractive to them and affordable to them as well. So that's trying to set some of the context in terms of what our goals were for these transit station areas, what we're looking to see happen in these transit station areas. Now I'm going to just talk very briefly, since Maggie was not able to be with us this evening, some of the details of the Reston Station development that Comstock development currently has underway. And in order to talk about that, we're going to actually look at their webpage and look at a couple of graphics that they have posted on their webpage so that I can speak to some of the specifics of their project and what they're looking to have in the future when it comes all together. So Ed, I believe, is going to help us. Okay, so here we have the site plan for the Reston Station development. And Wheelie Avenue is obviously here, the toll road is here, so north would be heading up this way. There's a new road. Hopefully some of you have had a chance to visit this area, perhaps with the opening of the Silver Line. So Reston Station Boulevard is an east-west road that currently has this one two-block segment. And as part of the broader idea for the whole Wheelie transit station area, we're looking to see this extend to the west, ideally extend as far over as Plaza America, so that that would provide a alternative to Sunset Hills as for people who are moving east and west, coming to the transit station, to the metro station here, and also in the future have it extend to the east across Wheelie Avenue. As redevelopment happens on that side, we'd like to see Reston Station Boulevard extend on that side as well. So just to orient you, obviously the garage is under all of this part of the development, and so this is a mixed-use, transit-oriented development that Comstock got zoning approval for, I believe in 2011. And the particulars with regard to their site is they have a residential building, that's the building that's currently under construction for 450 dwelling units, studio, one-bedroom and two-bedroom apartments. You can see that they're going to have an elevated, you don't see it on this picture, but this plaza is actually an elevated recreation area for the apartments in this part of the development. They have a 550,000 square foot Class A office building that's approved. What I should say is they have 550,000 square feet of Class A office space. And they have developed a concept for a building in this location, and we'll look at the picture of that in a minute. I don't know at this moment, and this is where we miss Maggie and we hope she feels better soon, if this building, it has all of the 550,000 square feet in it, because they do have a potential office building here. And I'm sorry, I don't recall right off the top of my head.
That's a smaller building.
It is a smaller building, yes. So in addition, so they have the office. This is actually a health club that will be located here.
I think that's part of another office building. I think there's 3 office buildings altogether wrapping around the corner.
Yes. So the plaza area here, public plaza, for those of you who've been down to the metro station, there's the glass pavilion right on the middle of the plaza that is the access down to the garage. Then there's also the first floor of what will ultimately be a hotel. They have approval for a 200-room hotel on the site. And so in addition to that, that's designed, that first floor is designed to be retail space. And as this project builds out, there's planned to be additional retail space on the ground floor level of the office buildings, so that you would have restaurants, some of the types of things you see in the town center, you know, some clothing stores, Starbucks, other types of things that are draw people to a place and encourage them to linger, and give a public space some vitality and a sense of something going on. And ideally, and I'm sure that Comstock in the future, as this develops out, will have programming on the plaza to encourage people to come and visit and spend some time. So that's the layout of Comstock's Reston Station development, and it's a good example of the type of development that we'd like to see more of. Now, one thing that's an alternative to this type of development, which we'd also like to see more of, is because of the garage, this is not at street level. And so as Reston Station Boulevard extends to the west, one of the things that we try and talk about, or that we do talk about in the comprehensive plan language or guidance for future development, is having some of the development at street level, again with an attractive streetscape, complete streets, so that you have your bike lanes, if that's appropriate. In some instances, these streets will be operating at a speed limit such that you may not need bike lanes. You know, typically you would have a bike lane on streets where the traffic is moving fast enough that you want to have a dedicated space for the bicyclists, so that they feel comfortable. But in some instances, on what we call local streets that are where your traffic is, your vehicular traffic is not moving very fast, you've got parking perhaps on one or both sides of the street, you may not actually need bike lanes because the bikes can be in the flow of traffic and feel comfortable. So we have some guidance, specific recommendations for how the street trees should be located along the sidewalks, spacing, those types of things to try and foster a comfortable environment for everyone, with the idea that actually the people in the car should have the lowest priority, is one way to think of it. That we want to make it such that the people out of the cars feel they're able to easily get around and do the things that they're trying to do. The other slide that I wanted to, the other image that I wanted to show from the webpage is this one. And so Wheelie Avenue is here in the front. If you were heading north on Wheelie, you would be going in this direction. The toll road's down here. I think that is the train going into the station, or maybe that's just the station there. But this is their conceptual design for their office building. The plaza's in here. The hotel that they've envisioned is here. The residential is here. Reston Station Boulevard begins here at grade, or at the intersection with Wheelie, and then there's that downhill, as you know, heading west. So over time, as these pieces come together, this is something along the lines of what we'll see at the Reston Station site, and we hope that it won't be too long before we see some activity on the south side of the Wheelie station, so that there'll be some amenities available on the south side of the station as people are using the Silver Line. And then as the line extends west towards Dulles Airport, over time we anticipate that we know that there's certainly interest, and we hope that there'll be comparatively quick development of some projects on both the north and the south side at Reston Town Center, and then on the south side at the Herndon Station, where the park and ride facility currently is, so that at each of the stations you'll have a very attractive, useful environment and set of uses to best utilize the presence of the train, and again, give those living in Reston currently and those who will come to Reston in the future just some additional options for places to live, work, and play. So, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chuck, and I think he's going to talk about his project.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank you very much, everyone. We will go quickly here. This actually moves the needle, does it? Okay, here we are. This isn't the real name. Oops, that's not the real name. The residents at Reston Station, that's our plug name, because we haven't gotten the marketing package yet for what everything's going to look like. But this is a quick little presentation to show you how things have changed. This project I started in 1978. I bought the property. It was 4 acres, and the office market was a little slow at the time, and so I started building this beautiful, architecturally significant, award-winning, Bonnie knows what kind of architecture. What's the name of this architecture? What is it, Bonnie? It's called cash flow architecture. is what we call it. So this was Reston Mini Storage. How many people have been a patron of Reston Mini Storage?
We've had a grateful.
Yes.
Exactly.
Half of Reston has been a patron in Reston Mini Storage over the years. It's been a great facility. In 1985, I actually bought a little more ground from Reston and built this project up front. This was actually part of the original 4 acres, and then some more land in the back that I'll show you in a second. And this has been a 118,000 square foot warehouse and quasi-retail up front for all these years, and has been a very useful part of Reston during that time. This shows you that same shot that Heidi had, which is the way that all of this looked not so long ago. This is the county's surface parking all the way over to here. It's 9.2 acres that the county bought from a fellow that had a single building on here that was run by the Spooks. It actually had 2 buildings. This one was totally without windows. It was a block house. This was the only building for a while that actually had fiber run to it. And nobody really knew what went on in there, but ultimately this building went down. The county, it was vacant. The county, the federal government moved out of it, and the owner of the property sold it to the county, and they converted it into this parking lot for parking ride for buses. These were the bus lanes.
What year was that?
Oh boy, the year that was in the 80s, when that building came down and the county bought this site. I don't remember when they actually converted this into all parking, but it was certainly no later than the late 80s that this became a parking lot. We own this building. This is Maximus here, and this is the mini storage and business park here. It's about 4.5 acres in total. And about 3 years ago, Veatch came along and bought these 2 buildings and part of this land going down here all along the road that's now known as Reston Station Boulevard coming in here. And this was used to build the road that cuts through, which is now called Reston Station Boulevard. Comes all the way through to here. This has now been expanded, and this is now called Metro Center Drive. So Metro Center Drive here, Reston Station Boulevard here, and this is what will be the remainder of the property, which is about 3.8 acres, is what was the subject of our rezoning application. This is the way everything looked in February 2012 when construction started on the garage. And you have your tower cranes here. This is actually looking, the buildings are still there. Our mini warehouse buildings, the back 2 buildings are still here. This is what's left today, and 3.8 acres. And this is our little office building here. This became the ultimate hole in the ground that went down 70 feet. And a very interesting statistic about this, which I love, there were 430,000 cubic yards of dirt that came out of here, which amounted to a 10-yard dump truck loaded with dirt every 8 minutes, 6 days a week for 15 months.
Oh my gosh.
Where did it go?
It went all over the place, but mostly it went west.
Most of it's out of Dallas.
It's out towards the Dulles area where most of it got dumped. But that's how big that hole is. It's quite a piece of engineering work. And now, of course, it's the parking garage for Metro, and Comstock is building on top of it, which is now up to the 10th floor, which will ultimately be 21 stories, 450 luxury apartments. In April of 2013, we got our zoning, and so that 3.8 acres was rezoned to 421 mid-rise apartments and up to 10,000 square feet of retail. This is actually the mix of apartments that are actually designed now and waiting for the county to approve our plans. But we have, as you can see, studio apartments, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 1 bedroom den, 2 bedroom, 2 baths, and 2 bedroom den. But the preponderance is down here in the 1 bedroom area, 1 bedroom and studio area. We also proffered both workforce and affordable housing. Now, we were not required to do the affordable housing because of the nature of the building being an elevator building. And we went the full boat here. We did 5% affordable, and it is the real affordable at 50 to 65% of the actual market income for our area. We also have 29 units that are workforce housing that will rent for anywhere from 80 to 120% of the income in the area. So, and then the rest of the 371 are in market rate. This is what it will look like, and construction will start in December, we hope, if Heidi can get all the people in the county to move quickly. This is the Sunset Hills Road view. If you're coming from Wheeling and going towards Plaza America on Sunset Hills Road, this is, it steps down the hill. This is what it looks like at that corner. This shows you the northeast corner of the building. And you can see that it is a almost square with the corner cut off, and there are 3 courtyards on the inside. So all of the apartments either look out or they look in to the courtyards.
Chuck, are you going below grade for parking?
Yeah, well, actually, the site slopes, and so along what we call Reston Station Boulevard, these are apartments that'll be actually more like a townhouse entry off the sidewalk here, and the garage is actually behind these apartments